Yo, when I say I am so tired of this set, I am so tired of this red set. It's ridiculous. I can't sit with it not another day longer. So it's time to do a fill. I'm going to be going in with the safety extra fine drill bit just to take off all of my color on a pretty high speed of 8 and just get it all off. This set I am going to be doing is going to be a fill. I was trying to wait because for whatever reason, I feel like this hand doesn't grow out as quick. Like I have so much more new growth on this side than I do this side, but I'm just going to do it a fill. And when it comes to taking off old polish, the second I see it's no more polish where I just took it off, I'm moving on to the next little portion. I'm not going to keep on filing because then I'm going to lose my shape of what I already have and have to add more acrylic. So once it's gone, I'm moving over. And a little small tip of advice, in order to get that one single pass and all that product lifted up, if you feel like you go over with your drill and you're not taking off enough, it's because you're not applying enough pressure with the handpiece to the nail. You're you're feathering it over too much as opposed to taking it, pressing down a little harder, and then taking it over. That is what gets that gel polish off. Or your gel polish application might simply just be too thick. That's another thing that I learned. I used to apply gel polish really thick, and it's so unnecessary. So try to apply a little bit more pressure with your handpiece. That way you're able just to let the gel get off in just a couple of passes. Okay, the first thing I'm doing is going in on a pretty low speed, and I'm going to thin out the areas that I see the lifting. I'm not really trying to dig a hole on my new growth. I'm trying to go on top, kind of creating a line right above where I see that lifting. That way when I start getting closer to it, it just lifts right up. And then, once I feel like I've created like a divot, I'll take some cuticle nippers and just pluck the acrylic right out. And because I thinned it out, it's not going to go above where I thinned it out. This is my non-dominant hand, so it's kind of hard to show y'all. It's kind of hard to get in there, honestly. Because it's not a hand I'm used to, like, doing, obviously. Then I'll move on to the other finger. And this one kind of has a lot, so Again, creating a thinning out area right at basically the stop of where you see it thinned out. And once you feel like you've made that line, just filing up until the point you've created the line. And you can see it's coming right up. You can see right here. You see still a little bit right there, but right here it's all gone. So you're just going to try to get a little closer. Just like so. So you can see the difference from this side, where if I were to press down on my nose, I do see a little bit more. If you see this side versus here, you can see the white. So I'm going to make a little divot. It's a lot harder for me to show y'all my non-dominant hand, but I do have some corners here, so I'm just going to touch those up and get those on each side. You guys can see a little bit more clear, but I hardly have anything. And then after that, I like to take my hand file and just smooth out and kind of get everybody back in line. That way, I don't have to go back in with acrylic to try to fix all the lumps and bumps from me taking off my polish. This just saves me one extra step, honestly. And especially when working with acrylic gel polish, always look underneath your client's hand, because you see how I still have red? Whatever nail design y'all do next, you don't want them to be able to still see the old set or the old color, I should say, that they have. So just making sure you're taking your file and getting underneath the nails, even if these weren't stiletto, any shape, look underneath, because your clients are going to be looking at these nails for a while. So shaping them back up and then getting the top done too. You want to do this before you apply more acrylic, because once that acrylic is on top, that color is going to stay there. And remember, you have filed away a little bit of the acrylic, so you have to be a little gentle in this stage because the nails are weaker than what they were moments ago, because you have adjusted your apex, you've taken off, you can see how thin my tips are, they weren't that thin before. So just keeping that in mind, don't be too rough with this portion of the process because the nails are a little thinner. Okay, after that, look at all this nail dust. Old polish. All I'm gonna do for this is take a paper towel, spray it with some table cleaner, and place it over top. Pat it around, and it's literally going to pick up all on the paper towel, and I hardly have to do anything but wipe up what didn't get picked up. Okay, so from that, I'm going to take the new sanding band and then my mandrel bit and just grab a new one. And I'm fin to go around the cuticles, just with this bit on a very low speed on both hands. And because you're doing a fill, this doesn't need too much, and you do have to be mindful of your angle because you don't want to create a ring of fire on your client or obviously on yourself. So just being mindful. It's not how you would use it when you're starting off a full set. The angle wants to try to be as flat as possible. I know when we think we're doing a fill, we want to get the part of the nail that is the new growth, but not necessarily. You want to take the shine away from that, and you can very much do that while keeping the drill bit parallel to the nail and not having to go in like this. Because this, you're actually missing more versus going across. You get more of your natural nail doing it that way. Putting the drill away for a second and then just wiping down all of my little dust. I really do hope this is going to be enough. I don't think it is, but I'm going to try to make it work. I have still some E-Nail Couture monomer left, just a little. This was a sample size I just stole from my mom. And it should be more than enough to complete a fill for sure. So I'm just going to empty that bottle. And this is a perfect example of how your fill should look when you're ready and you're done prepping everything. And once this bond goes on or this primer goes on, it's really going to be able to show how well you prepped the natural nails. You shouldn't see no lifting at all. Just like that. That is exactly how the nail should be looked. That's exactly how the nail should look when you're ready to go and apply acrylic. This hand, look, it's as good as it's gonna get. This is always gonna be the ugly twin sister, and I'm okay with that. But this isn't something I would do on a client because you're gonna have problems down the line. But for me, it's okay. I just want my nails done for real. I'm changing my brush. This is my Spade brush in the size 16. There really is no real reason why I decided to change my brush. This brush just looked at me first and I picked it up. So that's literally why I'm using this one right now. Going in with the monomer, getting my brush wet, getting my bubbles out. I'm going to start with my thumb. For your fill, your beads do not nearly have to be as big. I place it where the acrylic is already at, and I scoot it back into place. Oops, it's flooding, so you can see that flooding. I'm going to scoop it right back up, pat it, and wait for it to dry. And the flooding here at the cuticle too, that's going to cause lifting. So wiping it off of that cuticle and patting what I just lifted up upward. There's still a tiny piece right here, so I'm just going to wipe that and then pat it back to seal it. It's always a little more complicated working on yourself because you're not I would be angling the hand like this if I was working on a client, but when I'm working on myself, I'm working backwards. That's how my flooding typically happens a little quicker than normal. Again, a pretty small bead. When we're first getting started, I feel like at times we feel like we need to put all this acrylic so that we can build our structure. When you're doing fills, you guys, your structure is already there. You're just adding a little piece of hair. You know, when you're doing your hair, you're just adding a little piece to do some feed-in braids, and that's it. You don't need to be building this whole big old foundation that needs to be, no. This is a pretty small one, so I'm going to skip to my pinky because I didn't mean to pick up that small of a bead. And allowing that product to have time to set is also just as important. Sometimes moving, I know we all want to move quick and get our sets down, but understanding that sometimes when we move slower, our product works for us rather than us having to work against our product. I should have cut that piece of skin off. That's what that is right there, is a piece of skin that could give me some lifting down the line. I feel like I've took off too much acrylic when I was using my drill bit, so I'm going to place some down here at the middle and work it down back to my tip. I'm going to blend it into the top, wait for it to cure, and then I'm going to move it down. I'm going to put one more just because wasn't able to make it all the way, but I'm going to thicken that up just a tad. I flattened this apex out a little bit flatter than my liking, so I'm going to take a pretty decent sized bead again and go back in right here with that. Uh-oh. And just like that, that is my fill. I do see here that the acrylic is a little bit thinner, so I'm going to put some more right here. When it comes down to being the nail tech, you have to look at the work and make sure when it comes to a fill, you are rebalancing and repositioning the nail. Because fills are when the nails grow out, the balance and the structure of the nail has now changed, it has now shifted, it has now altered. So you have to make sure you're getting that nail structure looking back even and centered with what the growth has happened. Everyone's nails grows differently at different rates. I mean, when I say rates, I mean like speed. And so you have to analyze. Some people have so much new growth, they come back and you have to almost restructure and rebalance the entire thing. That's totally fine. That's just because their nails grow back quicker. So that's what I'm doing here. And especially when you're using that e-file to get it back to a point where it's like, okay, that's decent. I don't have a glove on right now, so I'm not going to pinch my tip. I'm just going to wait to drag it out. You don't want to get contact dermatitis. That comes from using your bare hands and touching that acrylic, which is the monomer and all those chemicals on your actual skin. Oops. I just messed it up anyway. It's okay. I could do it with my file. I'm still messing it up. Okay. Work with me here. Just like that. You see my apexes are back. Everybody is nice and even and looks everybody looks accounted for in the spot they need to be in. So now my non-dominant hand. I get so quiet when I start doing my when I start doing my non-dominant hand. I'm sorry, y'all. I be focused. I really be focused because this is a full-time job. And then immediately once I'm done using my brush, I just poured a little bit of acetone. I heavily dipped in monomer. I'm going to scrape it out both sides and get out all of that liquid, and then pour some cuticle oil down and go back and forth with it and saturate it. Find the empty spot on my paper towel and just wipe it back into shape. That's how I kind of maintain my acrylic brush. I love this brush. I got this brush at the Nail Lab, which is in California. I really do love it. I'm not sure if the brand is SPADE or if this brand is Kalinsky, Germany, but a size 16, the black handle, fire. Alright, so I'm done with that. I'm gonna close all of this up, and I'm gonna do a design I know y'all have seen before. It's basically like them abstract swirls I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a little bit of filing, just a little. I really don't need much. Like, I could tell, like, I really don't need much, but just to get everybody nice and crisp and pointy, I'm gonna use the hand file first because I feel like that will do a lot that will do a lot of the work for me. And then I'm going to go in just with my cuticle bit and do the cuticles how I always do. So yeah, let's get into filing. And honestly, they're a little thin, but that's okay. This is way too thin, so I'm going to go back. I'm not even going to file it anymore because I could tell that. Let me see if I can show y'all. I'm not able to do that. Oh, low key. Yeah, that one and this one is still too thin, so I need to go back and apply some more acrylic, so I'm not going to continue to file. It's just pointless for me to do so. And then doing my drill on a 3-speed and just taking the same sanding band and blending everybody out, getting around that cuticle. I'm just going in right quick to fix this with adding some more acrylic because I just think it's way too thin. I could tell it's thin because it's like moving around, like it's super flexible. Your nails shouldn't be flexible through the acrylic. So I'm just actually going to add a pretty thin layer to the whole foundation of the nail. know this seems totally backwards, but this is when I would go in and cut all my cuticles. I can see them. I'm not going to be damaging or cutting too deep because I do have that little ledge of acrylic. So I'm going to take my cuticle nippers and cut my cuticles. And this is what my set looks like after we're all shape file filled. Back feeling sturdy. You can tell my cuticles aren't flooded. I could have got a little closer, and I probably was closer, but my filing, I overfiled. So this is what we look like, filled, shaped, filed, ready for our design.